Today I'm going to do a quick overview of the Bora Portamate. This is a universal mobile base, and I have had experience with the HTC. I have 4 of them, and I understand this is a much more substantial unit. It's rated at 650 pounds capacity. It's coming to us and it looks like it's without any scratches, packaged fairly well. I'm going to go ahead and take these all out. My first step is to lay all the parts out neatly so I can see everything that I have, and I even try to lay things corresponding to where they're going to go. Initial comparison between this Bora unit and my earlier HTC unit is this is much more substantial. This looks like really heavy gauge, about 10 gauge steel. It was plastic in the other unit, and this is much more substantial, really strong looking material. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first phase of the assembly. First instruction is to attach this swivel plate to the base, and it's done by, if you take a look at the holes on the side, we take a long carriage bolt. It's square here, and there is a square cutout on this side. So we simply put this in place, line up the holes, slide this through, and when you pull it all the way through, drop the square part of that bolt into the slot made for it, and we'll use a wrench to tighten it down. So step 1 is completed, where both of these swivel plates have been attached using the carriage bolts, and the nuts are on these sides due to the stamped in square on this side. Okay, the next step, you might want to get someone to help you. I'm going to try and do this alone. But they want you to put nylon washers on both sides of this as you add this foot pedal. And the way it's done is you thread the long carriage bolt through here, put the nylon washer here, and then get a second bolt and have a washer placed on it, just hanging it up there. And then you want to slide this in there. Wow, I wish I had another hand. And see, I'm pushing this little bolt in there just to hold that washer in place until I can thread this guy through. And the idea is the second bolt will thread into the hole, and there we go. That's kind of a tricky maneuver, and you may have a little difficulty with it, but keep at it. You can see the 2 washers are there, and I still have to thread it through on this side. You can see I now have this attached with the nylon washers on both sides, and it's working in this order. I might mention that off screen I had to do some banging on this bolt because 2 times now I've found a little bit of paint in the hole and the bolt wouldn't slide through easily, so don't be surprised if it doesn't seem like it's the right size fit at first. Our next step is we're going to take this swivel caster, and on mine at least, it had the nut and lock washer on it already, so I'm just going to slip those off. And you can see this is kind of convex there, and it fits in through the bottom here into this place. So we're going to go ahead and attach that and tighten it down with the wrench. Now with the casters attached on here, you can see how this cam works to lift the unit off the ground. They put a little bit of grease in there to give it lubricant for this lift. So that's the way it should be working at this time. On the next step, you're going to thread this glide foot into the threaded hole on this metal flange, and I would run it up high and just run that nut down and leave it like that. Later on you'll have to adjust it so it doesn't drag when this caster is trying to roll. Now to install the rear wheel, we take and thread a washer over this bolt here, and then slide, just like we did before, the wheel in, and then lining it up, you can get that washer you can see that washer now is trapped between this bolt and the wheel. And then you can take the other bolt and thread it through the hole and push the bolt with the washer out, and it will retain that washer in there. And you put the nut on the inside and you're good to go. Go ahead and repeat that on both the back corners. Now all that remains to be done is to put the adjustable brackets in to make the base the size you want it. You have to have 2 bolts and nuts attaching on each side of the brackets to make them strong. And I would not tighten any nut or any bolt until you're sure that everything fits the way you want it to fit. Often I've had to make readjustments in this. So we'll go ahead and assemble that now. So my mobile transport is completed now, and I'll show you how it works. It moves like you can see with a finger. This is a little bit overkill because it's rated for, 650 pounds. This is about 65 pounds, but it has a real easy touch on it. It wasn't hard to assemble at all, and I'm going to give a little talk now. If you'd like to stop this video at this point, that's all there is for the assembly. But if you want to see a head-to-head comparison between this really heavy-duty moving platform and the earlier versions, that's the HTC, I'm going to do that right now. Okay, this is a head-to-head comparison between the Bora Mobile Base and the HTC 2000 Mobile Base, and you can see them both here. I've had this one for 2 or 3 years. I have 4 of them. I got this one on sale for $39 at Woodcraft. Sometimes they run. Right now you can get them for, oh gosh, I think about $60 at Home Depot, $57 Home Depot. And this one here ranges from $110, but I saw it on Amazon for $68. This one here is rated for 500 pounds. The Bora is rated for 650. If I had something around 500 pounds, I wouldn't be putting it on this one. On one of my other dollies that's a little heavier, it's got my lathe on it. I pushed here and this snapped right off, so I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of weight. On the other hand, if you look at the two compared, the base metal here on both of them seems about the same gauge. The biggest difference is the Bora has a really nice paint job, really thick paint, and you might say, well, you don't care about paint, but you do care about rust eventually, and this one is going to chip less often and rust less often, so it has a very nice paint job compared to this one. This is plastic, and the plastic is, it's a cam that's going against metal, and it does the job. This one is supporting about a 200-pound bandsaw right now. This one over here, this is all metal, and the cam is metal rubbing, and they put a little bit of lubricant in there, and it's very smooth. And this I would not be afraid to put 500, 600 pounds on, because it really looks like it can do the job. When you push these, this one's a little harder to push around. This one just glides. They really got that down. And I notice when you're looking here where the welds are and the strength of the metal in this part, this is much more robust than this one here. Just looking at it, I'm not giving it any tests now, but just eyeballing it, I would trust this one, the Bora, over the HTC on those really heavy loads. The difference in cost is so little if you shop around that you're going to get this one for probably $10 more. So I would tend to lean this way. I do want you to know that I bought this directly from the Affinity company, and a salesman asked me if I would do this video because I made an earlier video assembling the HTC and it was well received. So I assembled this one, and he wanted me to put a few comments on comparison review. I by no way got paid anything to do this. Any pay I get will be off of maybe YouTube hits, but the company didn't give me any reimbursement. So there they are, back to back. They're both good. This one here is a little wimpy when you start pushing up a lot of weight. When I use this one, I lift slightly on the tool, and when I lift and push down at the same time, I've had no problem. This you can use just foot power and it's going to lift it fine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe that might make you have a little bit easier time making a decision between the two. You can't go wrong with either. This is the one I would choose for the heavier weight.